Welcome back to Daily PBJ Devotionals. If you're following the Bible reading schedule to read through the Old Testament this year, you are scheduled to read Genesis 4, Ezra 4, and Psalm 4. This devotional is about Ezra 4, so let's read that chapter together. When the enemies of Judah and Benjamin heard that the exiles were building a temple for the Lord, the God of Israel, they approached Zerubbabel and the heads of the families, saying, "Let us build with you, because, like you, we seek your God, and have been sacrificing to him since the time of King Esarhaddon of Assyria, who brought us here." But Zerubbabel, Jeshua, and the other heads of the families of Israel replied, "You have no part with us in building a house for our God, since we alone must build it for the Lord, the God of Israel, as Cyrus, king of Persia, has commanded us." Then the people of the land set out to discourage the people of Judah and make them afraid to build. They hired counselors against them to frustrate their plans throughout the reign of Cyrus, king of Persia, and down to the reign of Darius, king of Persia. At the beginning of the reign of Xerxes, an accusation was lodged against the people of Judah and Jerusalem. And in the days of Artaxerxes, king of Persia, Bishlam, Mithridath, Tabeel, and the rest of his associates wrote a letter to Artaxerxes. It was written in Aramaic and then translated. Rehum the commander and Shimshai the scribe wrote the letter against Jerusalem to King Artaxerxes as follows. From Rehum the commander, Shimshai the scribe, and the rest of their associates, the judges and officials over Tripolis, Persia, Erech, and Babylon, the Elamites of Susa, and the rest of the peoples whom the great and honorable Ashurbanipal deported and settled in the cities of Samaria and elsewhere west of the Euphrates. This is the text of the letter they sent to him. To King Artaxerxes, from your servants, the men west of the Euphrates. Let it be known to the king that the Jews who came from you to us have returned to Jerusalem, and they are rebuilding that rebellious and wicked city, restoring its walls and repairing its foundations. Let it now be known to the king that if the city is rebuilt and its walls are restored, they will not pay tribute, duty, or toll, and the royal treasury will suffer. Now because we are in the service of the palace, and it is not fitting for us to allow the king to be dishonored, we have sent to inform the king that a search should be made of the record books of your fathers. In these books you will discover and verify that the city is a rebellious city, harmful to kings and provinces, inciting sedition from ancient times. That is why this city was destroyed. We advise the king that if this city is rebuilt and its walls are restored, you will have no dominion west of the Euphrates. Then the king sent this reply. To Rehum the commander, Shimshai the scribe, and the rest of your associates living in Samaria and elsewhere in the region west of the Euphrates, greetings. The letter you sent us has been translated and read in my presence. I issued a decree and a search was conducted. It was discovered that this city has revolted against kings from ancient times, engaging in rebellion and sedition. And mighty kings have ruled over Jerusalem and exercised authority over the whole region west of the Euphrates, and tribute, duty, and toll were paid to them. Now therefore, issue an order for these men to stop, so that this city will not be rebuilt until I so order. See that you do not neglect this matter. Why allow this threat to increase and the royal interests to suffer? When the text of the letter from King Artaxerxes was read to Rehum, Shimshai the scribe, and their associates, they went immediately to the Jews in Jerusalem and forcibly stopped them. Thus the construction of the house of God in Jerusalem ceased, and it remained at a standstill until the second year of the reign of Darius, king of Persia. This is God's word. Have you ever owned a car that was hard to start on a cold winter day? Did you ever get that car going, finally, only to have it stall out a few yards away from your house? This is what a stuck project feels like to me. It takes so much effort to start something new, but we do it because we have high expectations. Then, for reasons we can't control and sometimes don't even understand, all progress on the project just stops. God's people in Jerusalem came back to build a temple. Yes, they came back to rebuild their nation and their community, But the government officially authorized and allowed them to return to Jerusalem to rebuild God's temple, as you can read in Ezra 1. And they did it. First, they reestablished obedient worship. Then they laid the foundation for the temple and started building, as you can see in Ezra 3. But from the very beginning, there were problems. At the end of Ezra 3, you can see that there are shouts of joy from the people. That's Ezra 3, 11, and 12. And also loud weeping from many of the older priests and Levites and family heads who had seen the former temple. That's verse 12 of chapter 3 of Ezra in the NIV. Were these tears of joy? Hardly. Ezra didn't say so, but those who wept did so because the foundation of the new temple was so small and so humble compared to the great temple Solomon had built. That's suggested in verse 12, again of chapter 3, by the phrase, those who had seen the former temple. And this interpretation is confirmed by Haggai 2:3, where the prophet Haggai asked the people, "Who of you is left who saw this house in its former glory? How does it look to you now? Does it not seem to you like nothing?" So there was internal dissension in Ezra and opposition to the Lord's work by God's people themselves. That's Ezra 1 through 3. Here in chapter 4, we see opposition to building the temple from outside of Israel as well in verses 1 through 3. First, foreigners offered to help, but of course their help would almost certainly have come with expectations. God allowed Israel and Judah's enemies to force them from the promised land because they had mingled the true worship of God with idols. The enemies described here in Ezra 4 wanted that same result. When God's enemies failed to infiltrate the construction of the temple, they set out to discourage the people of Judah and make them afraid to go on building, as verse 4 in the NIV says. They used bribes, according to verse 5, and political maneuvering, according to verses 6 through 23 here in Ezra 4, to successfully stymie the construction of the Lord's temple, as we saw in verse 24, less than a year after the work began. What was behind all of these roadblocks? Well, Satan, of course. There were human actors in all of this dissension, whether they were internal or external human actors. But God's ultimate enemy, Satan, was the one doing the damage. I've encountered this in every ministry I've ever been involved in. We set out to do something for the Lord. Just as we start to get some momentum, some problem discourages people, complicates the work, or stops it altogether. Maybe you've encountered this in your life too. You've set a path to serve God in some new way, and unexpectedly, problems cause you to stall out. Let me encourage you, don't give up. That's exactly what Satan wants you to do. Opposition to God's work is part of living in a fallen world. God's people got through this in Ezra 4, and if we keep trusting the Lord and seeking to do His will, He'll get you and me through the problems we face in life as we serve Him too. So I hope that encourages you today. Keep doing what you're doing for the Lord. Keep trusting Him, persevere through the obstacles, and let's watch as God works. If you found this devotional helpful, please sign up to receive it every day in your email by going to dailypbj.com/subscribe. This will cue you every day to either watch the video or listen to the audio or read the devotional for yourself, and that will help you be in God's Word every day this year. I'm looking for financial support to help me with expenses and to be able to keep making videos like this. Go to dailypbj.com/support and please pick one of the monthly tiers that I offer there. Please share this video with anyone you know who might be discouraged in their service for the Lord. And I'll see you next time. May God bless you. Have a great day.